Hello, everybody. So, yeah, um, this is gonna be a video that I'm probably gonna lose followers over. Like, I'm probably gonna lose subscribers over. Um, and I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. Um, but I've also been very vocal about where I stand on issues like this on all of my social media. So, if you don't follow me there, and this comes as a surprise, I'm not really sorry about it. Um, but if you do follow me on social media, you know where I stand and you know um, what the content of this video is going to be. You might be able to hear some background noise. Can't really do anything about it. Like, we're both working from home, so you're going to hear stuff if you do. And if you don't, that's great. If you do, I mean, whatever, right? So this video is going to talk about a lot of things, and you know this video is going to be something when I bring out my Bible. We're going to talk about the Bible. But there's a lot of unrest going on in the world right now. There's a lot of really terrible things happening right now. Not even talking about like the actual virus pandemic that's going on, but the pandemic that's been going on for 250 years of racism, and how Black people are being murdered by police officers. Like, murdered. Like, straight up murdered. That's what it is. You know, there's no, oh, it was an accident. No, it's you murdered somebody. You murdered Breonna Taylor. You murdered George Floyd, and you were complacent in arresting the people that murdered Ahmaud Arbery. The video was out forever before any arrests were made. So that's really fucking stupid. So I'm gonna talk about it a lot, but the first thing I'm gonna talk about, which is the quickest thing, is the concept of like, not all cops are bad, and you know, there are some good cops, and I believe that there are good people who signed up to become cops for the right reasons. I do. I believe that. I believe that there are people who are like, I really want to be a police officer because I want to protect people. However, what happens is when you join an organization that has roots in racism, then that's going to take precedent a lot of times in your training. It's going to take precedent in how you approach situations and how you approach people. And not just the training that happens, you know, in the police academy and like on the job training, but like also the training that happens in society with systemic racism, because that plays a big part too. We're trained to see Black people as like threats, or more specifically, we're trained to see Black men as threats, right? We're taught to hold our valuables closer together, right? We're taught to, you know, walk to cross the street, you know, that kind of stuff. And something that I have been really working on, you know, when my phone got stolen, it was stolen by two Black teenagers, two Black teenage males. And so in my mind on the metro, anytime I saw a group of teenagers out, or you know, a group of like Black guys, I would hold my valuables closer to me. And I realized, you know, one, like, who said that those kids are bad? You know what I mean? Like, I am judging a whole group of people based on my experience with two people who stole my phone. And that's not fair to those people. And that's something that I've been working on unlearning. And if you're white and you're comfortable right now, you've got some problems, because I'm uncomfortable as shit, because I'm reading books that talk about white supremacy and racism, and I'm learning about the things that I've done and the behaviors that I've learned and behaviors that I've had that are contributing to it. And it makes me uncomfortable. But what comes out of this is, because I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to change things. Because I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to look at my behavior more, and I'm going to see how I can change my behaviors and the behaviors of others, and call out that behavior in other white people, because it's not Black people's job to call out that behavior. It's not black people's job to speak to us about racism. We need to learn about racism. We need to learn about white supremacy. We need to learn our roles that we play, because black people are fucking tired. They're tired of being shot. They're tired of having to speak up against this kind of bullshit. They're tired. For 250 years, they have been marginalized, they've been treated like shit, and they're tired of having to tell white people that they should be treated the same. White people need to tell other white people that black people should be treated the same. White people need to call out other white people on their bullshit. And these good cops need to call out the bad cops, because until you call out the racism and the murder that's happening with the bad cops, you're a bad cop because you're complicit in that, right? You are complicit in the murder of unarmed black people if you do not call it out. Now, there have been some police officers and some police stations that have taken knees with protesters, that have vowed to do better, that have marched with protesters, and that's what we need. There have been police officers that quit. There have been police officers that quit their jobs because of what's going on right now, because they see it. So that's what we need right now. That's what we need. And that's what we're asking for. We're asking for a total overhaul of the police system, because it's rooted in racism. From the runaway slave badges that Lizzo was talking about to the badges that they have now. Like, they got their start by literally being paid to chase down and kill black people. So that's something that just is a fact, and it's just right there. So we need to really do an overhaul of that whole system, because it's corrupt and it's messed up. So another thing that we want to talk about is, I was told by someone in my family that I was spouting party propaganda by saying that, I don't give a fuck about police officers, by saying that Black Lives Matter, and by saying, and basically by just saying what I needed to say and stating my opinions. And what's sad about this is we've gotten to the place where just talking about saving human lives and valuing human lives has become a political issue. There's no reason why saying people shouldn't be murdered, or more specifically, not people. There's nothing, or not people in general, but more specifically, saying that black people shouldn't be murdered by police officers during a traffic stop has become political. That's become a political statement. And I think when you look at that, you have to really look at yourself and say, if I believe that black people being shot and people caring about that and protesting about that is a liberal left thing, what does that say about the party that I'm a part of? Because I'm just going to say, there have been people in both parties that have been fucking idiots, right? That have said racist ass shit. But one party in particular right now they have a racist president in office. They have racist people representing them. They have the majority is racist. They come from places and they are racist, and that's just a fact. They see black people as a threat because they're a minority. They see any minority as a threat because they're going to vote against them because they don't vote in their interests. So their racism comes from greed, because they want to stay in power, and they realize, I don't like black people, and I don't like gay people, and I don't like Hispanics because they vote against me. But when we get to the point where we believe that saying that Black Lives Matter is a leftist propaganda thing, we've politicized human lives. And we've been politicizing human lives. So don't think that's a thing. We've been politicizing the lives of gay people. We've been politicizing the lives of women. We've been politicizing the rights of trans people, or the bodies of trans people. We've been politicizing a woman's right to choose what to do with her body. Like, we've been politicizing everything. But especially right now, because we're looking at this and we're valuing human lives, but being told that we're spreading leftist propaganda and party propaganda. The fact that you think that means that your party is racist. But now we're going to talk about some real tea, and that's the spiritual community and spiritual people and the racism that's in the spiritual community. So there are spiritual teachers that have not spoken out as strongly as I would have liked, that I messaged personally and, talked to them. And I was like, you need to have a stronger statement. I was like, I get what you're saying. And I totally understand where you're coming from, but you need to use your platform and have a stronger statement. And it happened. And not only did it happen, but there was an apology and acknowledgement for the previous post where it wasn't acknowledged. So thank you for that. And there's another spiritual teacher, Chris Carr, who is doing an amazing job. She posted a black square for Blackout Tuesday, and there were some horrible people on her post, and she was going in on these people using Black Lives Matter, like talking about Black Lives Matter, spreading resources. Like for every post that someone said all lives matter, she had a paragraph already prepared that she answered every single one of them with, and it included links to it was really good. So kudos to you. But here's what really gets me. So let's say you have a spiritual business, you're a Reiki healer, you're a teacher, you're a unicorn person, you're a tarot reader, whatever the fuck you are, right? Fuck it, whatever. If you have a spiritual business or just a spiritual person, even not a spiritual business, you're just a spiritual person, meditating, crystals, whatever, and you say that all lives matter, you have a fucking problem. Because, and especially if you're fucking white. Like, are you fucking serious? So, I've heard the argument, I care about the suffering of all beings. That's why I say that all lives matter. Look, Peggy, that wasn't her real name. We're not saying that. We're not saying we shouldn't care about the suffering of everybody. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying that all lives don't matter. We're saying that right now, our focus is on Black lives because they're being murdered by police officers. And apparently, we need to be fucking reminded that Black lives matter, that Black dreams and hopes matter, that Black achievements matter, that Black people matter, that Black families matter, that Black men matter, that Black women matter, that Black trans women matter, that Black trans men matter, that Black gay people, that Black lesbians, Black bisexual people, that Black Christians, Black atheists, Black Jews, they matter. And to use your platform as a white spiritual person to say all lives matter is fucking privileged and is fucking stupid. That's just all there is to it. And I'm not apologizing for that. Because, and here's why I say this. Because a lot of the practices that white people are using, especially the conjurers and the hoodoo people and the white people that practice more African American religions and practices, that came from Black people. From Black people. So that's what baffles me, is not only has a lot of our religion, or not our religions, but spiritual beliefs came from other cultures, but we don't acknowledge where it came from. And spiritual people believing that we are all one, that's dangerous. And I know that there was a teacher that posted about how we are all one, and while that is true, it's true. They since took a stance on their statement and became more powerful in that statement, which is awesome. But you, as an energy healer or as someone who's in the spiritual realms, should know that we send energy where energy needs to go. We send prayers where prayers need to go. And right now, that's to the Black people. That's to the Black community. And I just cannot stand. I can't stand that, because you're saying all lives matter, but then you're posting about climate change and taking care of the planet. But if you believe that all lives matter, shouldn't you believe that all planets matter? Because you're contradicting yourself. Because if you're saying that all lives matter while having a specific focus upon the Earth and climate change and taking care of the Earth, you should be saying that all planets matter. You should be helping NASA and fund the well-being of other planets, right? But no, you recognize there's a specific problem on Earth called climate change that you are trying to help with. Just like that, there's a specific issue where Black people are being murdered. And that's where Black Lives Matter comes from. So the next time you get on your goddamn soapbox about, I use only recyclable bags, I'm vegan for the planet, like, oh my god, I recycle everything, but you say all lives matter, you can go get fucked. Because at that point, your privilege is showing. Because you have the privilege of not worrying about being pulled over and shot by the police on your way home from grocery shopping with your reusable and recyclable bags. So now we're going to get to the Bible. So there are Christians that say that all lives matter, and they use their fucking bullshit to back that up. I am using the Amplified Bible. This is by Joyce Meyer, and it's actually when I have to look something up in the Bible, this is the Bible that I use, because I do like the Amplified version if I ever need to use it, which is very few and far between. So we're gonna be looking at the book of Matthew, and specifically we're gonna be looking at Matthew chapter 25, verse 40. And the king will reply to them, truly I tell you, in so far as you did it for one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it for me. So what that means is whatever you do to the people that are oppressed, whatever you do to the people and the least of these, and when I say least of these, don't get it fucking twisted. I'm not saying that Black people are less than white people, because I know there are some people who would probably use that. What I'm saying is any kind of oppressed people, that's what the least of these means, right? That's what the least of these are. Whatever you do to the least of these, you do to Jesus. So the kids in cages, the locking people up, separating kids from families, the defense of police officers who murder unarmed Black people, like whatever you do to the least of these, to the people that need your help, that's what you're doing to Jesus. And while we're talking about Jesus, Jesus hung out with the people that society did not want to hang out with. He hung out with the whores. He hung out with the tax collectors. He hung out with the prostitutes. Like, he hung out with the people that really were shunned by society. That's what Jesus did. And that's what Jesus is calling you to do. And that in your Christian religion, and as an ascended master, Jesus is calling us to do that as spiritual people. Whether you believe in him or not, if you believe in Christ consciousness or higher consciousness, that's what we're being called to do. Because you can't call yourself a Christian and be for this. You can't. And be against Black people. You can't. So now we're going to go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 35. I have my bookmarks ready. I have my receipts prepared. 35. Now, before I go into this is what we're going to be talking about. There are those of us who have been put at odds with our family for what we believe in, because we believe the right thing. And this is what Jesus is saying to those people. Do not think I have come to bring peace upon the earth. We're going to start with actually verse 34, 10:34. Chapter 10, verse 34. Do not think that I have come to bring peace upon the earth. I have not come to bring peace but a sword. For I have come to part asunder a man from his father, and a daughter from his mother, and a newly married wife from her mother-in-law. And a man's foes will be they of his own household. So, following what's right and following our hearts and following our convictions and following in the path of helping the people who need us like Jesus himself would do is going to cause a rift in your family. It's going to cause a rift in your friendships. It's going to cause a rift. You're going to lose things. But he also said, and he who, and he who does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his lower life will lose it. Will lose the higher life, and whoever loses his lower life on my account will find it, the higher life. He who receives and welcomes and accepts you receives, welcomes, and accepts me. And he who receives and welcomes and accepts me receives and welcomes and accepts him who sent me. So what that is saying is, if you do what you are supposed to do and you stand up against this, then it's going to be painful. It's going to be a burden. It is. But you will be drawn to people who truly value you and experience you for who you are, instead of you having to pretend to be somebody else. Because when they accept you, they're going to accept your higher self. They're going to accept every part of you. And for the Christian specifically, what this means is, when you do the hard things by standing up for people who need you, by standing up for the oppressed, then you're going to find people who accept you. And because they accept you, they're going to accept that you follow Jesus, and then they're going to accept God. That's how it's going to work. It's a chain reaction. Only good can happen from it. But what's going on is people are being too complacent, because complacent is complicit. Like, by being complacent, you're allowing and abetting things to happen. Like, you're aiding this. And I'm just, like, I got called ignorant for saying that Black Lives Matter and for calling someone out and pointing out their bullshit. Like, I got called out for it. Called out and called ignorant. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me, actually. You know, I am standing up for what's right. And I'm using my privilege, because that's the word that needs to be used a lot more. I'm using my privilege as a white male to get this message out there and to talk to you and to tell you to stop being a dick, right? And I'm learning about my privilege, and I'm learning about the role that I've played, and it's hard to look at, but I need to do it, and so do you. The time has ended for us to pretend like this isn't a problem, or pretend that we're just, not racist. Because it's not, you've probably heard this being said, it's not enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. And that's where the resources that you need to find that. And you need to go look at that. But yeah, so I hope that you got something out of this video. I tried to make it as non-ranty as possible, but I can't, you know me, I can't help that. So yeah, and if you want to come for me in the comments, I welcome it, because I'm going to eviscerate you. Or I might just even block you because you're ignorant. All right, have a good day, guys. Stay safe out there if you're protesting. Wear a mask and stay socially distant. Don't get a virus because you're protesting one virus. Don't get another one. But yeah, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.